Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Today we're going to look at verses 22 and 23 in Psalm 74. We've been studying this psalm for the last 2 weeks. Last week we did part 1, verses 1 through 12. And this week, part 13, verses 13 through 23. And I said at the beginning of the week, verse 12 is the fulcrum. It is it's the point on which everything pivots in the psalm. But God is my King of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. That's what the psalmist says. And he says that after complaining about all the destruction that he had witnessed firsthand. And then in the second half, we've seen, his declaration, his testimony. He recounts all the works of God in the earth. Well, or those that are significant in his eyes were those things through verse 17. And then in verses 18, 19, 20, 21, we've had a remembering theme. So remember and forget not have been themes that we followed here in those verses. Now we come to 22 and 23, and we're going to have the remember and forget not theme again. So let me read for you verses 22 and 23. Arise, O God, plead thine own cause. Remember how the foolish man reproaches thee daily. Forget not the voice of thine enemies. The tumult of those that rise up against thee increases continually. I love the way he begins this. He says, Arise, O God, plead thine own cause. And remember how he began this psalm? O God, why have you cast us off forever? So he begins the psalm with a complaint. I mean, he is witnessing the destruction of Jerusalem. Why wouldn't he complain about that? But now he's saying, okay, well, how about you plead your own cause? He's almost convinced himself through the course of the psalm that, it's okay. God's in control. He knows what he's doing. He's, remembering the covenant. He's having respect unto the covenant, and that's why this is happening. And so he comes down here to the close and he says, you know what? Just you plead your own cause. That's wonderful. And guess what? God doesn't need his permission or my permission or your permission or anybody else's permission to plead his own cause. He will. He's going to. He's going to act according to the covenant that he's made with us, and he's going to stand and he's going to declare the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Remember how the foolish man reproaches thee daily. Forget not the voice of thine enemies. The tumult of those that rise up against thee increases continually. Now again, we have the remember and the forget not here. Remember how the foolish forget not the voice of thine enemies. Now, these are wicked abusers of the temple, but I don't think the psalmist here means Nebuchadnezzar and the Chaldeans. I think the psalmist here has in mind all those that have caused this to happen. It's not been the godly in the land that have caused this to happen, but it's been the multitude of the wicked in Jerusalem and in Judah that have brought this about. The foolish man, the voice of your enemies, those that rise up, the tumult of those that rise up against thee. Isn't it awful when the tumult of those that rise up against the Lord say they are members of the church, say they are members of the godly, say they are walking in righteousness, and yet they profess something completely different than a gospel message, than a biblical message. And they do exactly what they want, and they confess this different message in the theme of convenience, and in the theme of compassion, and in the theme of being tolerant. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen, all over America today. Gospel churches and pastors are bending to the alphabet crew who want to push us into idolatry and into immorality. And there are pastors who are bending to it. How awful it is when the foolish man reproaches thee, and then the godly take up the same theme and abuse God in his own place. Well, join me again next time, and we'll look at Psalm 75 here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.